Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to, really plunge into complex topics. We sift through the sources, pull out those essential bits of knowledge.
Yeah, we do the heavy lifting so you don't have to.
Exactly. And today, wow, we're embarking on a journey into maybe one of the most enigmatic and, frankly, haunting prophecies out there, the seven seals of the apocalypse.
It's this vision, isn't it? So powerful, it just keeps echoing through history, through different cultures.
Absolutely. So our mission today, we want to unpack the symbolic meanings, look at how they might be relevant, surprisingly relevant, even now.
And maybe uncover some insights about, well, human nature, our collective weak spots. This is basically your shortcut to getting genuinely informed on something that's, let's face it, often pretty misunderstood.
That is the plan. And our main guide for this is a really insightful article called The Seven Seals of the Apocalypse, Book of Revelation Explained. It's great because it doesn't just list things, it interprets, dissects the symbolism.
Or it pushes you to see these ancient texts in a new light.
It really does. So to set the scene, the article starts with this really gripping image. A sacred scroll sealed with seven divine seals, and it's guarded by God.
And here's the kicker. The text says no one, absolutely no one in heaven or on earth is worthy to open this scroll. No one, except one figure.
The Lamb, the one who was slain yet lives.
Which symbolizes Christ. And crucially, when he opens the scroll, it's not just, a symbolic gesture. It sets off this chain reaction. Irreversible, transformative events start cascading.
So once a seal is broken, that's it. No going back.
Pretty much. The article calls them narrative triggers. Think of each one as unleashing a transformative force that fundamentally changes reality.
So it's not just revealing something, it's initiating something, often something, well, catastrophic.
Precisely. Each seal isn't just sitting there symbolically. It's an active catalyst. It causes these huge, often devastating things to unfold, less like a static picture, more like pulling a trigger.
That definitely makes going through them feel more intense. Knowing each one unlocks another layer of this unfolding drama, another layer of meaning.
Yeah, it deepens the process.
Okay, let's start with the first one. The one that, maybe ironically, looks kind of harmless at first.
Ah, yes, the first seal, often called conquest or deception.
Right. So you've got this rider on a white horse. He's got a crown. He's carrying a bow. But, and this is important, no arrows.
Yeah, the article really flags that detail.
And while he might look righteous, a lot of interpretations see him as, well, a precursor to the Antichrist, maybe even the Antichrist himself.
Spreading this idea of false peace using manipulative rule.
He seduces, the article says, rather than attacks outright. It's kind of chilling how it suggests tyranny can creep in subtly, wearing a mask of righteousness.
It's that illusion of order, setting the stage for what comes next.
The article has this quote: "He conquers not with force, but with persuasion, making him the most dangerous of all."
And that's what the article nails, I think, how insidious that first force is. It's not the obvious violence, it's the subtle manipulation, that faint calm before the storm.
Like a tyranny of hope, almost.
Exactly. And if you think about it in human terms, it suggests the biggest threats often don't announce themselves loudly. They start with a smile, a promise. They play on our desire for order, even a fake one.
And that fake order, that illusion, it doesn't last long, does it? Which brings us straight to the second seal.
The red horse.
Right.
This one's different. A rider on a fiery red horse, and he's got a great sword. No ambiguity here.
This is open, unfiltered war.
The article says he strips the world of peace. What follows is civil unrest, brother against brother violence, society just completely breaking down.
So unlike the first guy's sneaky tactics, this is just raw physical fallout, rage, destruction, and chaos.
He builds nothing, right? The quote says he only comes to shatter, divide, and devastate. It's the brutal consequence when that initial deception falls apart.
It's quite a progression, isn't it? From that subtle manipulation straight into just brutal conflict.
Yeah, the red horse is that point where all the underlying stuff just explodes. Pure devastation. Shows our capacity for self-destruction, really.
And then, after the violence, comes a different kind of misery with the third seal, the black horse.
This rider's holding scales. Immediately makes you think of famine, economic collapse.
Yeah, and the description is so vivid. Basic food, like wheat and barley, sold at exorbitant prices. People can barely afford to live.
But, and this is the stinging part, luxury goods, the oil and wine, they remain untouched. available.
Which just screams economic inequality, right? The poor are literally starving while the rich are, well, fine, they can still feast.
It's not the sudden shock of war. It's this slow and grinding despair, the article calls it. It just wears societies down.
That quote nails it. The scales are far from balanced. They tip lives into ruin. It's a different kind of destruction, quiet, drawn out.
And that grim picture, the slow suffering, the disparity, kind of sets the stage for the fourth seal, doesn't it?
It feels inevitable, yeah. The pale horse.
This is the last rider. The horse is this sickly greenish color, and the rider's name is literally Death.
And hell follows him. It says he doesn't even need a sword or a bow this time.
No, his arrival is the end result. It's what happens after the conquest, the war, the famine have done their work.
And the scale is just horrifying. A fourth of the earth falls to him, not because he does anything, just by his presence.
Yeah, the article describes it so chillingly. He doesn't speak, offers zero hope. Death is just inevitable, silent, and cold.
That quote again. He requires no weapons. His presence alone suffocates the air. Just, wow.
It really represents that ultimate chilling finality when all those other forces have run their course. The silence, the sheer scale, that's what makes it so terrifying. It's the quiet end after all the noise.
Okay, so after those four horsemen, each bringing escalating horror, the fifth seal is different. There's a real shift in tone here, right? No horsemen this time.
Exactly. The focus changes. Instead, we see the souls of the martyred. They're described as being beneath the altar in heaven.
And they're crying out, asking God, how long? How long until justice is served for what happened to them?
And they're given white robes, which is symbolic, but they're told to wait.
Yeah.
Essentially, more people need to suffer and die for the cause before the end comes.
So it's this moment of moral reckoning, as the article puts it. Injustice is acknowledged, remembered, but the resolution is delayed.
Yeah, and that quote is so potent. They do not plead for mercy, they demand justice. It's not about asking for relief, it's about demanding fairness. A spiritual pause, but filled with this intense longing.
And then, just when you think there's been a pause, the sixth seal hits, and it's back to sheer, overwhelming chaos, cosmic-level stuff.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking a massive earthquake. The sun blackened, the moon turned blood red, stars falling from the sky.
The sky itself rolled up like a scroll, mountains vanish. It's the whole fabric of reality coming undone.
And how do people react? Total terror. Everyone, from kings to slaves, they're hiding in caves, rocks, anywhere, dreading the great day of wrath.
The article suggests this sixth seal finally awakens humanity. Everything they might have doubted before is now impossible to deny. It's undeniable.
Right. That quote captures the desperation. Better to be crushed by the earth than endure the coming judgment. It's that moment when the divine power becomes terrifyingly real, forcing everyone to face the truth.
So after all that, the earthquake, the stars falling, you'd expect the seventh seal, the very last one, to be the loudest, most climactic event yet.
You would think so, wouldn't you? But instead, silence.
When the final seal is broken, the article says there's silence in heaven for about half an hour. Complete stillness. What is that about?
And that silence is perhaps the most terrifying part of all. It's described as a pause before the next stage of judgment, which involves 7 trumpets, signaling even deeper calamities.
So this quiet moment isn't peace at all.
Not even close. It's dread. Pure, unadulterated dread. The calm before absolute devastation. The article calls it a silence that screams, that captures it perfectly, that awful suspense. The real horror is maybe what's still to come.
Okay, so we've walked through each seal, each with its own distinct, powerful image. Now let's pull back. The article really insists these aren't just, end-of-the-world predictions locked in the future. What's the broader takeaway?
Yeah, it argues really strongly that they function as symbolic warnings.
Yeah.
They're like mirrors of human nature, reflecting our collective vulnerabilities.
So looking at them together, what themes emerge?
Well, you see that dangerous illusion of control with the white horse, then the terrible cost of power and violence with the red horse, the crushing weight of economic disparity with the black horse.
The inescapable fact of mortality with the pale horse.
Exactly. Then that deep, deep longing for justice in the fifth seal. The unavoidable reckoning with truth in the sixth. And finally, that terrifying suspense before ultimate judgment with the seventh seal's silence.
That reframes it quite powerfully. And then the article makes this really provocative suggestion.
Yeah. That the seals might actually be already opening.
That the apocalypse isn't necessarily some single future event, but maybe a perpetual process, something we're already living through in a way.
That's a core argument. The article presents Revelation not as some fantasy story or rigid prophecy, but as a kind of timeless allegory.
Meaning each seal maps onto real human struggles, things we face both inside ourselves and as societies.
Precisely. So it becomes this mirror for our present condition, not just a map to some distant, uncertain future. And you can see how these map onto, say, psychological issues, political dynamics, spiritual crises today.
Things like the allure of authoritarian figures.
Yeah, or the cries for justice we hear all the time,
Yeah.
the fear of society breaking down, climate change, economic crashes. These aren't just ancient texts talking about hypotheticals. They feel very active, very present.
So what we've done here is give you a shortcut, a way into understanding one of the Bible's most complex prophecies. Not as a literal forecast, maybe, but as this powerful allegorical lens for looking at the human experience right now.
hmm Which leads us to that final provocative thought to leave you with. If the article has a point, if the seals are already opening in some sense,
If the apocalypse is more like a perpetual process.
then think about this. Those themes we just discussed, the seductive appeal of false peace or strongman rule, the desperate cries for justice against inequality, that chilling fear of societal collapse, the grinding reality of economic hardship for so many. How are these not just ancient words, but maybe active forces shaping the world you see around you right now?
Where do you see the echoes? Something to mull over.